Hey everyone, welcome back, or hello if you're a new viewer. So today the recipe I want to share is a vegan Lorne sausage that I've come up with. Lorne sausage is what we know in Scotland as square sausage. It's a typical way of eating sausage in Scotland rather than link style that you find in the rest of the UK. This here is a very close approximation to the mouth texture and taste of what you actually get with Lorne. I've changed it slightly on the spice front, which we'll go into shortly, but it's a good faux sausage if that's what you're looking for, but actually I prefer it nowadays to actual Lorne sausage. So hopefully you get to enjoy it too. Here we go then. So first things first, set up your food processor so that it's got a blade option, and then we're going to add to that 250 grams of vital wheat gluten. And next up we'll be adding 50 grams of corn flour. So we also have 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 3/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 3/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and something I like to add that's not in our normal traditional recipes, and that's 3/4 of a teaspoon of smoked paprika. I personally just feel that gives us a much more rounded flavour to the sausage. So now here comes the therapeutic part. This is where we take our 6 spices, we put them into our food processor, and then we're going to give it a really good pulse to mix everything up. And prior to that pulse, as you just saw, I just give the spindle a tiny wee clean up with my silicone brush. It just means it's not jammed under the lid as I go to set everything in motion and whack it onto pulse. So now that all our dry ingredients are added, we're going to add the first of the wet ingredients, and that's our chickpeas. And then we're just going to stick the lid back on and then turn the food processor on and let it run to break down the chickpeas and get it thoroughly mixed into the rest of the ingredients. And what we're looking for is this sort of texture, as you see here in the images, where it's all broken down. It's starting to come together with the vital wheat gluten already, just because of the dampness of the chickpeas. So the secret to dealing with our marmite and getting it off our spoon is to first of all coat your spoon and make it slidey, and to do that we're going to add our first tablespoon of olive oil to the mixture, and then we're going to deal with the marmite before going back to the olive oil. So now that our spoon is prepped, all we're going to do is take and measure out 1 cup of boiled water, measure out 1 tablespoon of marmite, and then all we do is plunge that into the boiled water and watch it slide off the spoon. As long as you've prepared the spoon properly and you've got the boiled water, it comes out real easy. Next, just stir to mix so we can dissolve that completely, because we don't want any of the solid marmite left. We're looking for a marmite solution here. So just give it a thorough mix. You won't get absolutely every bit off the spoon, but you're going to get most of it off. And the final bit, we'll deal with that when we measure out our next half cup of water. But in the meantime, we can add our cup of marmite solution to the rest of our ingredients. Then we just want to come back with our half cup of boiled water, give our spoon a good swirl throughout it. That will remove any excess marmite left on the spoon. You should also have completely dissolved any residual marmite at the bottom of your cup at this point as well. And now we can add those last 3 tablespoons of olive oil. So just measure them out carefully and add them to the mixture. So now that all our ingredients are in the mixer, what we need to do is turn it on, let it run at a medium to high speed depending on the machine that you own, and try and get everything really combined. Now I'll stop this several times throughout it just to check, because we're looking for the texture to take on a specific consistency. So as we see here, the gluten's beginning to do what gluten does and it's becoming stringy, but we're nowhere near ready for the texture we need yet. So time to just whack it back on for a bit longer. So I let it run for another couple of minutes, got the speed up good and strong, but as we see it's definitely getting more and more stringy, but we're still not at the texture we're looking for. So I let the mixer run for maybe another minute and a half at close to full power, if not full power, and we can see now we've got this much more smooth looking, but when we pull at it, the stringy dough. Perfect, that's exactly where we need to be now. So now we want to take a loaf tin, add a tiny little splodge of olive oil and grab one of our silicone brushes and just rub it around to grease all of the tin up. So what we're looking to do now is just transfer our dough over into our oiled pan, stretch it out slightly just to fill the corners, then leave it to rest for approximately 10 minutes, just so it's easier again to just shape it as you need it. So once that's rested, all we're going to do is add it to a pan of boiling water. You can see that I've stretched it out slightly further after resting, just so it fills the corners nice, evenly and perfectly. Fill the water up to just below the rim of your actual pan. Then we're going to cover it and leave this to cook for an hour and a half at a steady simmer. So for me, that means a cup of tea, and then get everything else cleaned away, because cage, clean as you go. So safety first, put on some good gloves you ain't going to get burnt with for taking it out of the water, or use tongs or whatever your preferred method is of not getting burnt. There we go. And now we just need to let that cool. It will contract as it cools, but we just want it to set up in shape, so leave it in the bread basket. Bread basket is not a bread basket, are you a fool? Leave it in the loaf tin, let it cool, add you in and leave it an hour and a half, and then we can chop it up. But yummy, yummy, scrummy, scrummy. So now that it's been around an hour and a half, we can decant our Lorne sausage from our loaf tin. And that's us ready now to chop it up into appropriate sized slices. So when it comes to cutting it, I try to look and eyeball the halfway point and then cut through. And that's about as close as perfect as you can get. So all we're looking to do now is repeat the process exactly as before. Again, just try to keep your knife vertical as you go through it, and then we're looking to third it. Be careful of your fingers, tuck them back, use your knuckles just to slide it down. And there we have 3 lovely shaped Lorne patties. And nothing fancy now, just go ahead, repeat the process for the remaining sections of the block. So half where you need to half and third where you need to third. And when you're done, you'll end up with 12 Lorne sausage. Vegan style. The main thing to remember though is keep your cuts vertical. That's the difficult part here. Just try and keep those cuts vertical. So what we want to do now is cook them obviously, and what we need to do is get our large frying pan, add a splash of vegetable oil, maybe about a tablespoon's worth, get it up to a high heat. This is set on 5 out of 6, and we're going to cook it for 5 minutes on the first side, and then we're going to flip them over and cook for 5 minutes on the remaining side. So as I say, just take and flip them, and then we're going to cook them for 5 minutes on this side as well. But as we're cooking them, what we also want to do is take ourselves and add just a slice of cheese, because what's better than a rolling sausage with some cheese? So just stick a little bit of cheese on it and let's get that starting to melt away as we're cooking them. And once we've got that cook through for the 5 minutes. We take the remainder and we put our pan just under a hot grill, assuming your pan's suitable for doing so, not all are. And then from there, all we do is grill it for around a minute. So for final serving, get yourself a little bit of sweet chilli sauce, a little bit of sriracha sauce, add that to some rolls, then take our sausage, slap it on with a totty scone, which I've already shown you how to make, and let the bliss begin. So all it's left to do is to tuck into one of these bad boys, lovely on a roll with your previously made totty scones. Might show you how to make the rolls next time. And mouth texture is not identical to Lorne sausage, but it's not far off. And what you saw me adding sauce wise just helped bring out all the flavours with the sweet chilli and the sriracha. Traditionally it's with ketchup or brown sauce, but with the sweet chilli and the sriracha and the bit of melted cheese on top, scrummy, scrummy. So catch you later.